Alright, Splunk as simple as possible. We're going to do a highlight this time where we drill down on one specific topic within Splunk. And in this specific video, we're going to take a look at Splunk indexes. So we're going to break this down really simply, and by the end of this video, you're going to be an expert on searching indexes in Splunk. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, how do you search hundreds to possibly thousands of terabytes of data? Well, you have to organize and categorize the data. It has to be organized in a logical manner so that you know how to search it. For instance, if you're looking for a specific IP address within your event logs that are housed within Splunk, you need a strategy to be able to look for those, event logs involving that IP address. Splunk helps us with this by organizing all event logs stored within Splunk in something called indexes. So what is a Splunk index? Well, it's essentially a category of event logs organized by your Splunk administrator. So for your server event logs, you might have an index called servers. For your laptop event logs, you might have an index called laptops, and so on. But bear in mind that Splunk has no requirements as far as naming convention, so a Splunk administrator is free to name your indexes however he would like to. He could call index equals servers. He could rename that index equals Sam's Fish and Chips or something crazy like that. Now, your Splunk administrator is probably not going to do that, but just bear in mind that you could see all sorts of weird names for indexes. So you just gotta kind of be familiar with your network and know what it is that you're logging. Okay, so a Splunk index is the top level of a search tree. The index is your first step to searching. Now, the level below that is a field, and a field narrows your search to a category. And the next level below that is a value. This is the actual item that you're looking for. So in the case of IP addresses, you might have a field called IP underscore addresses, and then underneath that it would list a lot of values like actual IP addresses that can be found within your network. And then the last level of the Splunk search tree are the actual events where these specific values can be found. Now this slide is a little bit messy, so let's go ahead and look at this search tree again in another slide where it's cleaned up a little bit. So again, Splunk index, top level of search tree, first step to searching. Next level below that is a field, which narrows your search to a category. Next level below that is a value. This is the actual item that you're searching for. And then final level below that is the events. This is where the value that you're actually searching for is found. Now let's go ahead and look at an example. Let's say that you're trying to find server events involving a user named Jim Raynor. So you see Splunk gives us 4 different indexes: desktops, servers, printers, and routers. Since we're looking for server events, we're going to select servers. Now Splunk gives us 4 different fields or categories: users, host names, IP addresses, MAC addresses. So we're going to click on users because we are looking for a specific user. Now Splunk presents us with 4 different values: Sally, Bob, Jim, and Ed. So we're looking for Jim Raynor, so we select Jim Raynor. Now Splunk gives us 4 different events involving the user Jim Raynor. So let's look at another example. Again, 4 different indexes: desktops, servers, printers, routers. We're looking for routers with passwords that have changed. So we're going to select index equals routers. Then Splunk gives us 4 different fields or categories: users, host names, actions, and protocols. So because we're looking for events where passwords have changed, we're going to select actions because a password change is an action, right? So Splunk presents us with 4 different values: log in, log out, password change, and user creation. So we're going to select password change, and now we see Splunk gives us 4 different events involving password changes. All right, now let's take a look at the Splunk user interface. So first, we're going to see what indexes are available to us, and we're going to use a REST call for that. We're going to deduplicate the results. We're going to sort by descending alphabetical, and then we're going to spit the results out into a table. All right. So now we see we have routers and servers as indexes. Excellent. So that'll cover both of our examples. So we'll start with the first example, which is where we were looking for server events involving the user Jim Raynor. So we'll go indexes equals servers. Now you see on the left-hand side that Splunk presents us with the different fields or categories. So we're looking for a user named Jim Raynor, so we select users. Now we are presented with 4 values: Bob, Ed, Jim, and Sally, so we select Jim. And Splunk presents us with 3 events involving Jim Raynor. It looks like, if we look at the actions, looks like first he logged in, then he performed a password change, and then he logged out. Awesome. So let's look at example number 2. Password changes on routers. So we'll go index equals routers. Okay, again, Splunk on the left-hand side here presents us with fields or categories. Within the index, we select the actions field. We're presented with 4 values: log out, log in, password change, and user creation. We select password change because we're looking for password changes on routers. Awesome. Now Splunk presents us with 4 events under index equals routers, actions equals password change. So we can see here action password change in event 1, actions password change in event 2, 3, 4, and it looks like different users are changing their passwords. Awesome. So let's go back to our slide deck here, and we'll wrap up with some frequently asked questions about indexes. Okay, so first, why is it called an index? We'll touch on this briefly, and then we'll also go over how is a Splunk index constructed. This one's kind of interesting. If you understand how a Splunk index is constructed, it'll really help you when you're searching within an index. Okay, how can I see the event logs that are populating the index? This one is a little bit tricky if you want to see where those event logs are coming from, but we'll get you there. And then finally, I'll show you that REST call again, where I was able to list all the indexes within my Splunk architecture. I use that one quite a bit myself during my day job as a Splunk administrator. Okay, so number 1, why the term index? Now, this is not an official answer, but essentially a Splunk index is kind of modeled after a book index. So we see here in a book index that we have a list of items and their locations where those items can be found within a book. So a book index is a guide to quickly find all the locations where something is mentioned. So there's 2 elements to a book index. You have the item and the page number. So item, page number. So Splunk indexes are kind of the same way. You'll see in column 1, book index, you have the index, you have the item that you're looking for, and then you have page numbers. And you'll see in a Splunk index, the item is actually a value, and the page numbers are actually events. So from a book index to a Splunk index, an item in Splunk is called a value. A page number in Splunk is called an event. So how is the Splunk index constructed? Well, we'll go back to our book index comparison. Now let's say that you have one book and you have an index covering all of the important items within that book and where those items can be found. Now imagine you have 4 books, each with their own individual indexes that talk about the most important items within those books and where those important items can be found within those books. Now imagine squishing all 4 of those books together into one giant book, and then having one giant index that goes over all the important items found in that giant book. Now this is kind of how a Splunk index is constructed, except change the term books to event logs. As you can see here, event log 1, 2, 3, and 4. Squish them all together into one giant event log, and then you have one huge index composed of many different event logs. But keep in mind, even though you have multiple event logs in one index, all of those event logs are related. So for instance, all printer event logs are in one location or one index, and then you have one giant index that goes over all the important items within those event logs all squished together, and it tells you where to find those. This is basically how a Splunk index is constructed. It's just squishing together a ton of event logs and then indexing all the important items so you can find them quickly. Okay, how can I see the event logs that are populating my index? Well, this one can be a little bit challenging and a little bit tricky, and you can't always get 100% on it, but usually the host or source fields will give you a good idea of what event logs are populating your index. So if we go back to the Splunk user interface here, I'll show you really quick. So go index, desktop logs. Oh, we don't want all time. I'll get crazy. Okay, so host or source fields. So here we see we have a host of my desktop. That's because this is my desktop computer. So these event logs are coming from my desktop computer. Now, source, we have 4 different values here. Network interface, performance monitor network interface, Windows security logs, Windows application logs, Windows system logs. So if you put these 2 pieces of data together, the host is my own desktop, and the source is 4 different event logs. So we're bringing in 4 different event logs from my desktop, sticking them all in index equals desktop logs. All right, let's go back to our slides. We'll finish up here. Okay, I'll show you again that REST call that should display for you all the indexes available for you to search. So pause the video if you have to, but I'll take a moment here and kind of explain this command. So a REST call, that's kind of outside the intent of this video, but basically the dedup, that is deduplicating the index titles that are reserved or reported back to me, and then we sort those titles by descending alphabetical, and then we spit them all out in a table so it's easy for you and I to read. All right, so this has been Splunk as simple as possible. We've drilled down on Splunk indexes and how to use them and a little bit of background on them. So thanks for watching. Who am I? I'm just an IT professional. I've been in the industry for 10 years. I have multiple degrees and certifications. Basically, I'm making these videos because I have taken several certification boot camps where I didn't learn a lot. They just taught us the test. They didn't really teach us the technology and how it works. And so I've been kind of fed up with that model. So I just wanted to create some training where I really sit down and go through methodically how the technology works, because as IT professionals, we're expected to learn new information very quickly, and I just want to make it easy for you guys to learn it. So if you found this video helpful, please like. If you think it'll help someone else, please share it with them. And if you hope to see more simple IT training videos in the future, please subscribe. Thanks a bunch, guys, for your time. Take care.